ride this road through the grain waves.
Well, hello everyone. This is our second episode of Bourbon and Bullshit. I'm very pleased to have our guest today. To the left of me is Tara. She is a local Portland street photographer and artist. And then, of course, we have Richard Cheverton, who is part of Portland Dissent. And I am Jeff Church. I'm part of PDX Reel. So what we do on this show, as you may know, is that we drink bourbon and we talk bullshit. But it's gonna be a fun one today.
Wait, I was told this was going to be a Tupperware party.
Well, it is of sorts. If you consider bourbon Tupperware.
Actually, I just came for the free booze.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's a good thing to come for. We're going to start out our little soiree with. I found some really good stuff locally in Portland. It's a really good time to get good bourbon. I'm really happy with this one. This is Old Fitzgerald. It's a Heaven Hill offering. It's a 7-year. It's a wheated bourbon. It's a bottle and bond, which means it is 100 proof. The bottle and bond laws from I think it's 1896, right in there somewhere. They have specific rules that you have to follow. First of all, it has to be 100 proof, which this is. It has to be at least 4 years old, and it can't be blended with anything else. I think there's one other thing, but I'm forgetting it now. But this is special stuff. I'm going to start it off with it so we can start off really good. This is a wheated bourbon, so it's going to be a little lighter on the palate. So I don't know if you need water in it, but sometimes Richard likes to throw a little water in his bourbon.
This whole water thing is different. I feel like this is something to dispense poison with.
Well, you can do that. Well, arguably this is poison, but if you drink too much of it.
That's true.
As a name your poison.
Alright, pass that down here.
I need this thing to dispense water in my house, like for bathing, and you know how our water is really expensive?
Yeah, it's very expensive.
I can be like, okay, you get this many drops in the bathtub.
We
deal with it.
At our house we have a drip system, and of course, you know, we just have it hooked up to our water, so we just turn our water on outside. But it's dripping all over the place, and we're like testing our drip system. And it's like Angela's like, we need to make sure that's not dripping. Our water's too expensive.
It's so expensive. I just came here for a free shower.
Absolutely. And now they're going to raise it even more, and we have this wonderful new plant that we're going to put up out in East County over by Boring. Oh yeah, it's gonna last price tag I think it was $2.13 billion, but now they're stating in some recent meetings that aren't really open to the press that it's going to approach $2.5 billion now, especially with the delays because they've shut it down for a while.
Sky's the limit.
Why
It's
not?
always the limit in Portland.
And of course, at first they promised, well, this won't raise your rates, but of course it will.
It's going to raise them exponentially.
Right.
It's like in the paperwork.
Yeah, it's like over 8% per year is what they're looking at.
But guys, they're hiring BIPOC people to build it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
They're going to have jobs for a little while.
Progressives want to dehydrate us.
Yes.
They think we think better if we are...
Smell this a little bit too, because it's just like
desert.
so good.
It's really good.
There's so much fruit in that. It's like strawberry and melon.
Wow. You have a very good nose palate.
How about leather? Is there any leather in there, do you think?
I'm not really detecting any leather, but
I was waiting for the leather part. It's kind of an S&M drink.
there's a little funkiness in it.
Ah, funky.
You forgot to wear
somebody
your
took a-
collar.
Somebody took
I
a
have a
bath
faux
on the
claw.
barrel
Do you want
before
me to
they
claw
bottled
you?
it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I can scratch you, and you can disinfect your wound with this leathery.
So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of my old
This is good. I like this.
Fitzgerald?
I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's way better than young Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still remembering the fourth bottle that we had the last time around.
The Rio.
Yeah.
You can't even find that now.
I
It's like it was a
know.
limited
Why are we drinking
release.
booze that we can't buy?
Well, you drink it while you can buy it.
Yeah.
There's weird people in the bourbon market who will buy a bottle like that and never drink it. They just want
Why
it
would
up
you
on
do
their.
that?
They just want it up on
At
their
least drink half
shelf.
of it.
Right, exactly.
Come on. It's not like a toy that you leave in the box.
In the music game, it's always like there'll be these people that have the best equipment, right? But they're rich people and they don't know how to play. So it's like the famous quote is like, oh, he has lawyer tone. It's like, it's like some rich lawyer is buying all the nice equipment that a normal musician could never buy. A boutique
musician.
amp for $6,000. And so they call it lawyer tone.
So sad.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll buy an instrument that some rock star who, drank himself to death or OD'd and died and left behind this battered up, horrible looking guitar.
Oh yeah,
$1 million.
Well, yeah, I think Clapton's
Crazy.
Blackie sold for over $1 million, and then of course Hendrix's White Strat sold even for more than that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, those shouldn't be played again anyway,
Right.
so they might as well be owned by a
They
rich
put them up
person.
on a wall.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like one of those things.
They
everything
show
winds up in one of those restaurants that has all the memorabilia in it.
Yeah,
the Hard Rock
exactly.
Cafe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Man,
Or
they
the
must have the
Experience
worst food.
Music Project up in Seattle. But that's kind of cool. Have you ever been up to that?
Mm-mm. I went to Seattle, but it was only for the garbage and the homeless.
Well, speaking of garbage and homeless, we would like to talk. Richard and I would
That
like
was
to
a
talk.
great segue.
It was.
I
I'd like
am
to
a
talk
master.
about what you like to do.
It's not a segue if you say it's a segue. It's sneaky. It's supposed to be sneaky.
Okay,
Right.
I ruined the segue.
Yeah.
But it was intentional.
That was a segue faux pas.
Don't speak foreign words to
Here
me
we
that I
are
don't
beating up the
understand.
guest
I
already.
know.
Why am I in the middle?
Because you're like the younger sister. It's just like
I
we
feel like I'm
get
like,
you by the head and just kind of give you noogies and stuff.
Yeah.
Noogies.
it's like I got invited to a stag party and became a sandwich. Like, what is this?
Well, here's my basic question, Tara. How can you take so many pictures of utter depravity and still be a nice person?
Am I a
What's your
nice person?
secret?
Am
Well,
I?
I'm kind of assuming. I mean, you're here.
That doesn't make me a nice person. That makes me a
Tara's
mooch.
a nice. Tara's a
I'm
nice.
a Okay, no,
Tara's better than both of us combined, and then some.
I have been told that I am a kind and loving person, but also a little bit much and kind of a bitch. So it's
Well, you
mixed
have to be.
reviews on me. But yeah, no, I think
You have to, as a woman, I think you have to be both.
yes, I'm also a parent.
Right.
And,
And yeah.
I live in Portland.
Of four beautiful kids.
3 beautiful. One. That's I'm not gonna say who.
Said like a true mother.
Yeah, exactly.
That one looks like me. No, they're all wonderful. I think that the reason that I'm out there doing it is because I care. So that's why I keep going. That's why I stay doing it, because I actually, I'm like I don't want to talk like I'm amazing or anything, but I'm a naturally empathetic person, and I naturally try to find the beauty in places that other people find ugliness, or in people that would be considered ugly or unlovable. I've just always been drawn to seeing things differently than other people, I guess.
That's sort of like the Maplethorpe thing, right? I mean, you find there's ugliness and there's beauty within that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like a artist, why are you looking at me all wide-eyed? You didn't think I'd break out Maplethorpe?
Well, I'm thinking about some of the pictures that I actually blundered into looking at, and you can't get them out of your mind because they're so
Demented?
grossly
Like
obscene.
rotting feet,
Right.
butt cracks.
Yeah,
what are we
exactly,
talking about?
like
are we in PG land here or not?
No, we're not.
PG.
I definitely put not for children on our videos.
Yeah, my kids aren't watching this, so
All right, okay. Well, the writing crop up the rump. That's where it kind of
That's where
belongs.
we went too far.
But here's the deal. Here's what I wonder. I mean, you've been doing. How long have you actually been shooting on the street stuff?
About 2 years.
2 years.
Well, and a little more.
Yeah.
It was like basically January of like 2023.
So you've looked at. Well, you've probably taken thousands and thousands of exposures. How has that changed your point of view as a person behind the camera over that span of the 2 years?
Well, I will preface that with saying that I've been shooting the streets since like 2020.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't been doing it with like the artistic bent, like with a real camera, until like later on.
Yeah, because I remember seeing, before I knew you, I remember seeing like you'd even do some video stuff, and there were always like people like harassing you and like homeless people chasing you down the street.
It was Antifa
like,
chasing me down the street.
Them too.
The homeless people are generally nice to me. Yeah, I started out shooting just iPhone because I was angry that the media was lying about what was happening here with COVID, with the COVID era, riots and shutdowns and like everything that was going on. Garbage everywhere. There was like street takeovers and racing. There was all kinds of crime all over the place. Like it was just lie upon lie, or people didn't believe what was happening. So I actually started just going out there with my iPhone and being like, you want to see what's really happening? That's what's going on. That's what's going on. These people are terrorists. This is terrible. Like, our streets are full of trash. Whatever it was, like, that's what I was doing. And then someone helped me learn how to take photos on, like, a real camera. And in the process of me learning that is when I, like, kind of accidentally fell into interacting with the homeless community. Because I'm just roaming around the streets, like, trying to find interesting shots. And I get involved in all these conversations with, like, random people where, like, in my life, I've had major social anxiety problems. And so I maybe can't approach, like, just some person in a normal outfit or, you know, a respectable person. You guys are fine. But, like, on the streets or in a social setting. But I, for whatever reason, could just walk into a homeless encampment and be like, hey, guys, what's up? Like, are you grilling, or what are you playing on that instrument, or like whatever, and they'd be like, this is weird, but okay, like, or these people like in the inner southeast were like, I have never seen a little like white girl by herself in the hood, just walking around saying hi to people. It's kind of amazing, like, you know, so it morphed into like me interacting with the homeless community because I was just looking for interesting things to shoot, and I'm drawn to that world for whatever reason. So I have become more jaded and more empathetic at the same time, which is kind of hard to describe. But
I guess we can get into this later, but I'm always sort of like interested in why it's happening, not so much who it's happening to, where you're like more into like who these people are in a lot of ways.
I'm into the whole question.
Yeah.
But you have to hear what people have to say in order to figure out why it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's not just one why.
Yeah,
there's many
of course.
whys.
Yeah, and
people are very complex.
I've done some of this work before, and one thing I noticed is everyone has their own story. It's not like you can just lump them into one thing and you think that, oh, they must be all sort of experiencing the same world, but they all come from different backgrounds. Obviously, they all have different stories of how they got there. It's not just like, oh, it's the classic I became homeless story. I mean, and some of them you can tell that they're not that they have their story, but it's probably not really true.
Yeah, there's some very interesting ones out there.
I remember this guy I talked to on the street, and it was in my neighborhood here, and his street name was Tank, and he was this big white dude, and he had the face tattoos and everything.
Oh, perfect.
And
I love a face tattoo. And
he claimed that his dad owned a property up on Mount Tabor that he got in, from his dad's estate, but he couldn't stay there because he had been locked in solitary confinement so long in like the federal supermax in Colorado. Like he couldn't be inside because it would give him PTSD. So supposedly he just let a bunch of his friends crash there, and he would sleep on the street. Now, obviously, it's like I asked him, well, why don't you just sleep in your backyard?
That is a good, valid question.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Get a tree fort, man.
I don't know.
Get a shed from Home Depot.
Right, exactly.
Like my kid wants one of those for a bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
In the yard.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a
thought.
yeah. It's a 6-person family with a 3-bedroom household.
Right, exactly.
One of those bedrooms is not to spec.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's yeah, I mean, my limited experience with it was, well, I remember like we got to the point where it was just like we'd ask them like specifically like, what would be the one thing in your that would make your life just like the one thing that would make your life better? Like the first thing that you can think on the top of your head, what is the one thing that would make it better than it is right now? And you get good, I mean, a lot of people would say like, oh, well, I don't have an ID, so I can't work.
Almost.
It's really common,
it's
right?
So common. It's so common, and as soon as they get it, they lose it again. Or it gets stolen. Like,
and it takes forever, especially because they don't
anything on the street.
Because they don't have. I mean, they don't have access to their birth certificates usually, or
No.
I mean, it's just like.
I can't navigate the system
Right.
myself, and like.
Oh, I know.
That's beside the point, though. I'm just not good at that.
No, it's totally true. It's you know, we've tried to do that for people before, and it's just like, just investing all this time into it, like trying to weed your way through the bureaucracy to get to someone who can like actually help, rather than them just passing it and then, well, you know, this is what you got to do, you know. And then you gotta wait, and then you gotta do this. Well, then you can kind of do that. Well, you know, I recommend you do that. And it's just like,
it's the government,
right? And it's just like, I'm relatively sober and like, you know, fairly responsible, and you know, decently intelligent, and just like trying to navigate that myself.
I can't do it.
You know, in the comfort of my own home is really difficult. I mean, if you have someone who is drug addicted, mentally ill, homeless.
A lot of them are mentally ill.
Yeah, it's just
I don't know if it's like the drugs.
drug induced, probably a combination.
It's a combo. Like,
yeah.
there's so many people that are on the streets because they're mentally ill, and a lot of the people, like, weirdly, one of the things that I was most drawn to originally on the streets was like talking to the schizophrenics.
Oh yeah.
Because they'll just be like screaming on a street corner.
Yep.
Everyone's avoiding them. And I'm like, oh, I'll go talk to this person, right? So I just walk up and I'm like, hey man, what's going on? And then they'll just like snap into focus and tell me exactly what they want to say. And a lot of the time they just calm down.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, someone heard what I was talking about, so now I'm all right.
Yeah.
And then they'll just like almost be normal for a while. But they'll still have voices in their head. So you have to be careful because
you don't want them to think you're one of the voices.
well, no, it's like the voices will decide whether they like you or not.
Yeah, right.
And most of the time the voices like me, but occasionally they want to murder me.
Right.
So I have to listen carefully.
Right.
So I can run.
Right.
Because, and it happens like pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Usually
sure.
if I begin talking to someone and they're receptive, almost always the voices are okay.
Yeah.
It's when I'm just like walking around by myself and someone is talking and like they see me and I'll hear the voices start and they'll start just like going at me. I'll get called crazy stuff. Like,
oh yeah.
Like racial.
Oh yeah.
That I am not black. Nor am I a man. So like the things they're screaming at me, I'm like,
oh yeah.
Who are you talking to?
That's
not me. Stop chasing me.
There's a woman in our neighborhood who goes to the free pantry, which is right down the block from us, and she's clearly schizophrenic, and like just the vile stuff that comes out of her mouth. I remember one day she was just throwing food out in the middle of the street from this pantry, and I said I don't know what I said. I said something like, "You need to pick that up," or whatever, you know. And she just
a dad answer.
I mean, it was just like, wow.
Are you gonna clean that up?
I always say, like, these people can paint in obscenities like Rembrandt can paint in oils. It's just like, I mean, it's just incredible what
They're just
what comes out of their
seriously, they're
mouths.
just reaching for like the worst possible
Thing to say, yeah.
That's what I like.
And I mean, this is an R-rated show, and I wouldn't even feel comfortable about stuff.
I'm not going to drop the N on your
Right,
show.
exactly.
But I have been called it. And,
You're right.
But the other thing is, here's the weird thing. So I'll get called an N,
Mm-hmm.
but then when the voices are nice, a lot of the time they're like, you were once an African queen. You were an Egyptian queen.
Wow.
You were an Ethiopian queen.
Wow.
And they'll like actually start like looking at me like, and I've heard this from multiple schizophrenics.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is going on here?
They're probably tied into some like deeper thing that with their brain issues that we can't even understand.
Yeah, I don't get it, but I've had so many people say that to me that I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I know you can see me.
Right.
Maybe it is a past life thing.
Maybe it
Everyone
is.
wants to believe they were Cleopatra or
Right,
African
exactly.
queen or whatever.
Most of us were just poor, like, peasants, scraping out a living and, just trying to get through the day.
I was a queen. And this explains why I was always obsessed with Egyptology when I was a child. Because I wanted to be an archaeologist as my third life goal. The first was a clown. So.
A clown?
Yes, I wanted to be a clown.
Well, Portland's a place where you go for clowning, right? It's like
It's
clowning
true.
classes.
I practiced the faces in the mirror. I would sit there and I had like a name for every face. I did that, and then I guess, and then I was going to be an investigative reporter, which has kind of worked out for
That's
me.
kind of what you are.
And I wanted to be an archaeologist, and I spent a lot of time digging around in garbage.
We sort of are. I mean,
am, yeah.
You're sort of like a archaeologist that's going through like sort of the present day. You know, because I mean, people just leave behind stuff. It's sort of fascinating.
They do.
And it's just like, wow, where did this come from? And all the weird things that you find. And
I always do say there's a story in a pile of garbage.
you're right.
There really is. As long as it's like an organized pile of garbage. If a bunch of people contributed,
Yeah, then it's
there's no story. It's just
it's
a
less.
mess.
Yeah, it's garbage then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a critique of the American kind of consumption. We'll consume it, and then we'll just throw it on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a almost like a commentary in a funny way.
It
And
is.
it looks, and I was looking at some stuff that was online today. This huge track of garbage out in, I think it's around Bend, maybe, or some protected
Was that
forest.
Kevin's?
And
Kevin's thing?
Was that
it's kind of like,
That was 1,000 Acres.
it's kind of like some of those artists who actually were crazy, who get collected, and some guy puts them into a gallery, and they become hugely famous artists.
Right.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
There's a long line of that. Somebody who was running a really edgy gallery could go and just completely reproduce
Right.
what
Some
is
of that
the
stuff.
junk
Right.
in a typical homeless encampment, and put it into a gallery in New York City, and it would sell like hotcakes.
It would.
You could probably
You know,
buy it by the square foot.
I actually
Nice.
had the idea of like, because I collect weird stuff that I find in garbage piles in like abandoned encampments and stuff, or
Do you ever
things.
take some?
Oh yeah, I have like crazy amount of weird stuff in my house that I have collected.
Well,
And
tell
I
us
was
about
like,
that.
you could put the, like things on little like podiums, and then put pictures of like the people that I have encountered, and be like, found objects, lost people.
You should put in for a Guggenheim Fellowship.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
God's
Yeah.
sake, that's fantastic.
Yeah, found objects, lost people.
Cheapers. Well,
Yeah.
Andy Warhol did almost the same thing.
It would be like a very fancy little thing with like a velvet top, and then it would be like the weird thing that I found, like
Yeah,
Right.
a vitrine under a little
The
glass
meth pipe.
dome. Whoa.
Still life of
Part
a
of it.
homeless camp.
yeah.
I think we ought to edit that out of the whatever we release on this thing, because that's a hot idea.
Somebody's gonna steal it.
Somebody's
I
gonna
came up
steal
with
it.
that. I came
Getting
up with that.
to it. Jeepers.
So, in your opinion, I'd kind of like to push toward the political aspect of it a little bit. So I mean, what do you think? Like the Portland government and the county government and some of the NGOs, what do you think they're one doing wrong, and two, what do you think they're doing well?
I think they're all screwed up myself. That's the short
Well,
answer.
yeah, that was my answer, but
But I'm not on the street.
She's on the street, so I wanted to. I mean, I can give my opinion about what's going on, but
it depends on the organization.
yeah.
Like, you have these.
Like, give me a good one. Is like Blanchet House okay? I mean, they provide a service, right?
They provide food
Yeah.
at certain times,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine.
Yep.
I mean, that's a pretty basic thing. I don't really have a problem with them, other than some of their employees are dickheads.
Well, I got Novik's a little newsletter today in my email, and
Stevie
he
knows.
had
Stevie
a
knows.
very big deal of serving the homeless.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you can't reply to an email that comes off a mailing list. And but what I would have written back to him is, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You're serving them. You're not actually helping them.
Right.
There's a big difference there.
Yes,
seems
there
to me.
is.
There is. I mean, like with Blanchet, if their whole thing is we're going to serve meals, fine. But
Yeah.
maybe, like, because everyone's concentrated right there all the time, that somebody else who is actually going to, like, offer help,
Yeah.
should hang around there and do something.
Absolutely.
Because they're all right there. They're there.
And they're all
there,
getting paid
and
all
they're
this money.
eating gospel mission. Like, you know where to find the people. Do something.
And some of the NGOs I've talked to, that's the issue, is that there's very little communication between them to work together. I mean, I think there is some, but it's just like...
Well, they're all competitors. There's a
Yeah.
limited amount of money in the honey pot,
Right.
and they want theirs
Yes.
first.
Yes.
But I don't think anybody that I've ever heard in Portland, with the exception of you and Kevin, has ever really talked about what constitutes helping.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let's stash them in a bunch of ugly little plastic houses on a lot that we've overpaid for. There's
Yeah.
one, about 5 blocks away.
Right.
And that are overrun with drug
But that's
users.
not help. That's maintenance. That's
Just maintaining.
let's keep the like balance.
It's sort of like a prison, right? I mean,
I've heard
you're just
that.
housing people
It's
you
an
know,
open door prison.
to get them out of the way. I mean, that's all they're doing. It's just like, just get these people out of the way.
Storage.
So the normies don't complain too much about like them being on the street shooting their drugs out there. They can shoot their drugs in here.
Yeah,
that
with each
kind of
other,
thing.
which
Yeah.
is great when you have someone who wants to be in shelter and doesn't want to be around drug use.
Exactly.
Because then they're forced to be breathing fentanyl smoke from the person in the bunk underneath them, which is exactly what I've heard from people
Oh,
who
yeah.
stayed in the shelters. Like
Yep.
Arbor Lodge shelter, like nice, new,
Mm-hmm.
very late to be opened facility. They have people just smoking fentanyl and doing whatever in there,
Right.
causing fights, lighting things on fire, like.
Well,
And so nobody wants to stay there. Who would want to live in that?
Yep.
And then they're like, well, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back on the street.
Yeah, there's this girl that we knew. She's early 20s, a young girl. Like her boyfriend that she lived with died of fentanyl overdose, and she was an addict herself. And she was trying to get well, and so where she had to go was the Blackburn. So I don't know if you know what a Blackburn is. It's that place out on 122nd and Burnside. It's just
Hellhole.
like
Okay.
it's just like it's 6 stories high. It looks like a nice building, sort of. It's a horrible color. But you have a dozen people outside milling around all the time.
Yeah.
And this is where she had to get services. And literally, she would tell us, it's like there's times when guys just come up to me and put fentanyl in my hand while I'm walking in to get like help for my fentanyl addiction. It's just like how do you do that? I mean, how do you survive that kind of thing? It's just
Well, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. We know that one of the biggest drug busts in the entire country just occurred down in Salem.
Yeah.
And then there was another guy who had his pickup truck full of meth.
Oh, an Estacada.
Yes, the-
I
Estacada.
want to tell you something.
That was just for all of his family members.
Oh yeah.
It's Estacada after all.
Then you gotta wonder what happens to all that stuff. Is it in a locker somewhere?
Estacada's an odd place because I've heard that it's sort of a dumping ground for the cartel.
Interesting.
Like multiple law enforcement officials have told us that more than one, thug or whoever ends up in a, they find his body in the back of an old burned out car, out there. So it's just
pretty obviously somebody gave up something.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to get killed.
Is this like the condos?
Yeah, I mean it's because a couple years ago they had a bust out there. Well, they arrested a guy for murdering a black gang member, and so what I've heard is that about 3 or 4 years ago, the cartels came in and took over for good, and they told the black street gangs that either you work with us or we kill you. And so a lot of the street gang guys from the rolling crip, the rolling 60s and stuff like that, ended up in the back of a car dead.
Yep.
That didn't want to go along with it. And so we're dealing with that on a huge basis in this and I mean it's sort of the idea when we basically de facto legalize drugs is that it just brings in is people that want to use drugs, and so what follows that is the people who want to sell drugs, and then what follows that are the organizations that want to control the drug trade. And so when you do stuff like this, you invite this whole other thing, and then surrounding that you have trafficking, you have bank fraud, you have all these other things that are associated with it. So when you do stuff like this, you just invite in this whole culture, and that's what we're seeing now. That's what we're seeing one of the largest, because it's just like, oh, Oregon's open, like we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the little dark spot on the map between California and Washington. Those are richer, more prosperous, and probably tougher states.
Right.
And Oregon is just a bunch of forests and stupid people in Portland, and it's a great target.
Right. And you can buy into the state like that. I mean, look what happened. Our lovely governor, is hobnobbing with like a couple of, cartel connected, drug dealers, that basically bought their way into, having, a pay or play thing with them. People? Yeah, the Lamona people. I mean, it's just, and now they're doing it down in New Mexico. It's like, oh, we'll move here now. And the whole thing about
New Mexico does remind me of Portland.
It does.
They have
really
good
Mexico's
food.
a rather corrupt state.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
corrupt. It's full of like moochy leftists.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. They have wonderful food.
Right.
And it's like kind of a shit show.
Yeah.
And the antique store owners are not nice people.
One of my friends once told me, he goes, New Mexico is one of the only places where your name could be Carlos Vasquez Marija, and you hate Mexican people. Because, it's very Spanish, and it's very like, that's where a lot of, they ended up, sort of those settlements down there, Santa Fe, and, all of them were, it's like where they ended up.
New Mexico belongs to the Navajo Nation.
Absolutely.
It is. It's like communist.
Areas.
Yeah.
Like, the reservation is basically like communism.
Yeah.
It's a lot of poorness.
I
I drove through there with my family, and I almost got into a fist fight with a very effeminate, very angry, prickish antique store owner who was rude to my children.
Where was this at?
Albuquerque.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were on a road trip. It was very long. We were very tired. We just wanted something fun to do. Now, we had just had the best pho of our lives. So thank you, Albuquerque.
Wow.
Like, it was beautiful. Then we go to this antique store. This is like during 2021. So we left Portland to get the fuck out of here so we could actually like live life.
Yeah.
And then this is why I'm saying Albuquerque or New Mexico in general reminds me of Portland, because they wanted to keep living the COVID life like over there. So they wanted to keep doing the masking and all that. And we took our kids into an antique store just to have some fun. They were not wearing masks. The guy like kicked us out of the store. Yeah. He hunted us down in the store. And he
to breathe your virus.
Chased us around. And then he like yelled at my kids in their faces, little children, and made them cry. And he was like, "Oh, if you're gonna cry over that, like, he brought it to a new level." And I got into his face, and my husband is like, "Oh God, she's mad. Like, get us out of here. Get us out of here." So he's trying to find the last child because like there's 4 of them. They're all through the store. Like, we were screaming at each other outside of there, and I'm like, "Come on, bring it. Like, I will kick your ass in front of your antique store."
Right, exactly.
Piece of shit, like, yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about it. I mean,
am from the
ghetto! Portland was built for COVID. A bunch of, like, people on SSRIs who, they're sort of like, they kind of look at you and they don't want to look at people in the face. They don't want to.
Still wearing masks.
Still are.
They're kneeled to the face.
When I was in Central Europe last year, the way I could tell if someone was definitely American is if they wore a mask. Because no one wore masks over there. It was just like, oh, that's got to be an American. It's just
they're
like
chickens.
It's embarrassing.
It's totally embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
All right, I'm going to interrupt this fascinating conversation for the most important part of this whole thing. Is we're going to drink some more bourbon.
Yeah, get me drunk. I'll keep talking.
So this is a good one too. I've been to this distillery. It's called Lux Row Distillery. It's in Bardstown. We have a couple of Bardstown distilleries that
Bardstown.
Yes, Bardstown, Kentucky.
Not
Great.
Bartertown.
Bardstown. It's
I've
like
heard
the
Bardstown.
Bard.
What the hell is Bardstown like?
I've heard.
It's very small. It's there's not the. It doesn't look that nice. I mean, but it's got incredible distilleries there. It's got like
Must
half
smell
dozen.
great.
Oh yeah.
It probably has really great history too.
Yeah, it's got one of the oldest bars in the United States there as well.
They just mispronounced it. It's actually Bardstown.
Bardstown.
They were just drunk.
Right, exactly.
Mouth that with soap.
Bardstown.
But you can go into this bar and it's got a huge selection of amazing bourbon that you couldn't get here, even at our lovely taverns that we like to go to. So this one is Ezra Brooks. Again, it's from Lux Row. And this is, I really like this. It is, it's charcoal mellowed. It's in hand-picked from extraordinary barrels. So it's a straight bourbon.
We're getting the leftovers.
Extraordinary? What makes it extraordinary? Please describe. What makes it better than every other barrel?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It's just tooting its
We
own
forgot
horn.
it's in a closet somewhere.
Lux Row is a very nice distillery. Like you walk in there, you feel like you're going to, some wine tasting room in Napa Valley. Like it's very
Their
like
label
like
does
they're
say that I am important and maybe hipster.
And so this runs a little hotter. It's 56.5% alcohol, so it's 113 proof.
Holy crap.
Whoa.
Probably the hottest one we'll drink tonight. It is.
After this, we're going to talk about childbirth.
You'll have to be the lead on that one, I think.
With 2 guys in the room,
I
you
just
will
wanna be
guilt trip
expert
us to
on
no
something.
end.
Oh, what are you talking about? You're an expert on almost everything. All right.
See, that's my big question. As long as we're going to talk about childbirth.
All right.
I can
Pass your
understand
glass, Richard.
why a woman would have her first child. But I cannot understand why any woman would have numbers 2, 3, and
Well,
4.
I hear you forget you block it out.
It's true. I claim to never do it again every time. I'm not even kidding. Like I would give birth and be like, do this. Nope. But then you like hold the baby, you sniff the baby, you feed the baby, and you're like, so.
Dopamine.
And then
it's the dopamine. It's the dopamine hit, like.
And then nature
it
takes
makes you
over.
forget. The dopamine is like a huge trick.
Right.
It's a bait and switch. It's like a mind fuck. It's
Right.
yeah.
Well, you're supposed to produce as a woman at least 2.1 babies, because
I'm
that
not gonna
keeps.
follow any rules. That's why I have 4.
You're ahead of the game. You ought to get a little.
I get a
shot.
prize. And 3 of them I birthed in a bathtub, in my own home,
Wow.
and 1 of them with no air conditioning in August in Virginia.
Oh man.
Whoa.
So there you
You
go.
are a tough
I am the
bitch.
manliest person in this room. And
Was
she
there
didn't
water in the
scream.
bathtub? Is it one of these underwater delivery kind of ideas?
Yes. It actually
Wow.
feels better. It helps ease the pain.
Really?
The first one I did in the hospital, and it was complete bullshit, and I hated it. And I wanted to do a home birth, but people talked me out of it.
Oh, that's nice. Sorry, I'm enjoying the smell of my
It's
Ezra
okay. We're
Brooks.
talking about suckling the teat in a way, so it's fine.
This is the nectar of the gods right here, just like the mother's milk.
Exactly.
Mm.
But yeah, the first one was terrible, and I was like, I'm never doing that again. I was
Don't
like,
they get easier progressively? Supposedly, this is what I've heard.
they do get. In my experience, they
Mhm.
got faster. So I
Yeah.
like halved the time.
Mm.
Thank God, because
Yeah.
the first one was like 48 hours.
Oh God.
Torture. And I didn't accept medication until the very end of that one because they were like, well, if you don't do it, we're going to cut you open. So,
So you were being a tough cookie on the first one.
yeah, and it sucked. Then the other 3 were at home. But, yeah, then it was like 24 hours, 12 hours. And then I really got with the game, and it was like 2.
2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours.
I
That's
almost
a-
did that one by myself.
that's-
That was castor oil. If you want to get birth fast, take some castor oil. Everything in your body will just,
Wow,
Leave it.
just the natural remedies.
yeah.
You're all into
Well,
that.
I was 2 weeks overdue. And my midwife was like legally contracted with the hospital system to send you to the
Right,
hospital if you were 2 weeks overdue.
Right.
And I was like,
No.
nope, we're not doing that. So
Are you one of these people who doesn't like doctors in general?
I don't like doctors. I don't trust them because they went through the medical system, and I feel like they're all like brainwashed and they don't really want to heal you of anything.
One
Unless you need surgery or like one of those people, like the acute people. Absolutely, like yeah, take my my heart and like unkill me, but I
Well,
don't
if you
know.
get shot, you want somebody to get the bullet out really quick.
Right.
Maybe.
Like American medicine does 2 things well. I think it does trauma well.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I think it does like high level surgery well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But everything else they suck at. Just like maintaining your health, they're horrible at it.
Well, they want to give you a pill or they want to give you a
Yeah.
vaccine.
And they want to get you in and out as fast as possible. I hate going to the doctor. It's horrible. And like the last couple times they're like, well, can you do a Zoom call? And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because, I mean, I did a Zoom call once, and of course it was during COVID. And they still charged me the same amount, you know? They didn't check my blood pressure, of course, because you can't over a Zoom call. You know, and it's just like, they charged me I was like, you're really going to charge me $175 for a Zoom call that took 15 minutes? You
There are
know?
things that you would want to share with your doctor that if you put them on Instagram,
Right.
they would pixelate it.
Right,
You couldn't see it.
right,
You know,
Wait,
like
what?
personal parts of your body
right,
on video.
Right.
No way.
right.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not gonna.
Hey,
How
doc,
do you-
I think I have a fissure on my asshole. Can I show it to you?
It's the shankers that we don't.
Thank you.
We don't like to
I did go straight
publicize
to
them.
butthole. I just didn't want to say it. I didn't want to be the first person to say it.
YouTube is going to work this one over like crazy.
Oh yeah, we
I
have
can
to.
see that coming a mile away.
Like I said, not for children.
Oh, kids love butthole talk.
It's true.
Come on.
It's true. Yeah, we haven't really swore really that much, have we?
I have actually.
No.
No, I quit.
No, but we have degenerated very quickly.
We have.
I feel
Right.
embarrassed that I'm the one who swore the most.
Well, we knew that was going to happen. You're kind of a swearer.
I spend a lot of time in the streets.
Right, exactly.
That's what guests are for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You take the heat, and we just get to sit here and chuckle.
Right, yep. I'm the
It's
melted
fun.
cheese in the sandwich.
How old is the oldest?
16.
16.
Mm-hmm.
Boy or girl?
Girl.
Girl.
I have 2 teenage girls and 2 younger boys.
Are they driving you crazy a little bit?
I mean, not as much as they used to, actually.
Oh, really? They've
Yeah.
kind of come out of the danger zone.
Well,
So
yeah,
to
I don't
speak.
have toddlers anymore, so
Right,
that's kind of a gift. I get to sleep through the night
Yeah.
if I choose to, which my body, decides on that or not. But like, actually, yeah, it's a lot easier than it was because I banged a bunch out really fast, and I wanted to have all my kids out by the time I was 30, which I did.
Wow.
And I don't know why.
You did it the right way.
It was a goal.
Yeah.
So
So your youngest,
So what
your youngest is
did
like
they-
10, right? 10? 9, okay.
What did they think about your work?
it's interesting. Like they didn't really know exactly what I was doing for a while because
Did you come home and say, well, Mommy has just been with a schizophrenic who chased her around with a Bowie knife?
the worst part was at the beginning of it, I was actually like being chased around by Antifa and people who were
Oh,
legitimately like beating the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So I would come home like
Did you ever get milkshaked?
I didn't get milkshaked. I did get physically assaulted and
Wow.
Yeah, and they didn't prosecute the person at all.
No, they did.
They did it, and she did it to multiple people, Alyssa Azar. And, they just let it go, and it was...
Let it go, yeah.
And they did this, what do they call it? Restorative justice.
Yeah.
Which is, she had to kind of apologize to one person that she afflicted.
They got this guy, basically they found, okay, so there was a series of victims in this case, right? They found the one guy who had other criminal charges against him, and they basically said hey, if you go along with this, we're gonna ease up on you on some of these things. And restorative justice, I believe, is supposed to be you've actually been prosecuted, you've been charged, you have your charges against you, have been prosecuted.
Yep.
And then we're going to take them away. Well, they didn't even go through the prosecution part.
Right.
They took all the statements from the victims, which I didn't want to participate in the first place. And I think it's how I got doxxed. And they found my address and tried to get my husband fired from his job. And they were taking pictures of my house and my car. And they all live in my neighborhood, so that was great. And my neighbor was crying at Alyssa Azar's trial when she actually got charged.
Was that
Oregon
weird
City.
dude?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
2 block, a block down from me. So, I mean, yeah.
She has terrorist fanboys.
She has an OnlyFans.
I know she does.
And I've seen her body in real life, and that's not what it looks like.
You're right.
So, whatever. But yeah, I was getting the worst part was when I would come home actually physically harmed and have to hide it from my kids because that sucked. The street stuff, I would tell a few stories, but they didn't exactly know what I was doing. Now my teenagers have the internet, so they can see my Instagram, so they're a lot more aware of what I have going on. And I've been more honest about this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, but I'm smart, I'm paying attention, I'll be okay, and they just kind of think it's interesting at this point. They think I'm weird, but
How about your husband?
Tim's a pretty cool guy.
He said he's like a frog who's been slowly boiling. I think he said that 2 days ago. He just doesn't even bat an eye now at some of the...
Tim has a very dry sense of humor.
He does. He's at first, but he knew, well, it took a little while into the marriage, but he knew that I'm not normal.
Well, that's why
I'm just not.
I'm sure.
I'm just not normal. The fact is, I am not normal. And I have interests, and I am a creative creative and a little like reckless.
Yeah.
But it's worked out okay.
When you're creative, you tend to be a little reckless.
Yeah.
And a little experiential.
Well, I married
Well, you gotta
him
find
within
the
6
edge.
months of knowing
Yeah.
him, so
You have to find the edge, and then you have to walk along the edge, and then you have to somehow figure out a way to get off the edge and kind of into the unknown territory.
Right.
Yeah, that's what makes for great
Of
art.
self-reflection after you've been to the edge and
Yeah.
nearly fallen off.
Some people never come back.
Right.
Like Nietzsche.
Oh,
Yeah, he just went into an insane asylum.
Absolutely.
that's the benefit of having the kids is like I have a reason to come
Right.
back. So I
Yes.
always
Yeah.
pull it back in. But
Mm-hmm.
the crazy side of me just likes going over into this.
Now here's just a technique question, not to get off the deeper shit here, but some of your work recently, well, at least that I've noticed, is black and white. And how do you make
I love
this?
her black and white stuff.
What things do you want to be in black and white, and why? Given the fact that color is now, like kind of like the default.
That is a good question, and I actually have an answer for that. The funny thing is, I would probably have been doing more black and white more regularly if people hadn't been so insistent that I do it. Because every once in a while, I would make something into black and white because I think this image would work better this way. And they'd be like, oh, your pictures look better when they're black and white. You should do them more often. And I'm like, oh, you think so? Fuck you. Yeah, we're not going to do that. So I resisted for a while. Defiantly.
Mm-hmm.
I would be mad. I'm like, oh, your pictures look better when they're black and white. Yeah, you do it yourself. I choose whether color serves the image or not. Like, if color adds necessary context to the picture, someone's red hat, or just it helps define the layers in the photo,
Mm-hmm.
or there's something particular where if you take the color away, it detracts from the image, I'll keep the color. Otherwise, I will often put it into black and white, just because there's something stark and timeless about it that I like, but sometimes you lose something contextually. So,
Yeah, I was looking at the pictures of the fighters,
Mhm.
the boxers and the cage fighters, and I thought, God, this looks great in black and white.
Yeah.
It's like something out of the 30s.
Yeah, that's how I
or,
felt
the
too.
Depression.
Well, there's a
era,
more of
that
a-
kind of thing.
We tend to think it with our American psyche that like people were tougher back then, 100 years ago, and they probably
Oh,
were.
They were.
And so
They
when we
used
see
outhouses.
like these people knocking the shit out of each other, and it's just like, and what's cool about black and white is that you can tell it's blood when it's blood, right? I mean, because it's just the tones of the black and white still show through, right? Amazingly
Red reads
so.
dark
Yeah.
in black and white.
And so I just find it really fascinating in that regard. It sort of pulls us back into a different time, and just like people who are fighters are pretty tough people. You know what I mean? I worked with this woman who is a boxer.
Oh, really?
And I mean, she had a pretty professional job, and sometimes she'd come back on Monday after fighting over the weekend. She'd have a black eye, and she's supposed to be like in this semi-professional job, and
This is the good life, right?
it was just like, people would be like, what are you doing? It's just like, well, I'm a boxer. It's like, well, are you a good boxer? Because every time you come home, and then you're just beat to shit, It's just
One
like,
of the bloodiest fights I shot at this MMA event was the chicks. And,
Yeah.
Like this woman from Sweet Home just got the
wow.
her eye was
Ugh.
done. And the woman she was fighting against looked terrified the whole time. So like you would think that the one who was like fronting was gonna get
Yeah.
No, the scared chick beat the shit out of
Wow.
her. It was crazy. The first fight was the best though, because they just like brutalized each other.
Mhm.
And I was right against the cage and I just got covered in blood.
Whoa.
It was all over me. I was
Whoa.
like I smelled
I
it
smell
before I knew
iron.
it was there, and I'm like, it's all over my lens. Like, I had a filter on, so I like threw it off.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's like it was all under my, and I'm like, I can taste it, and everyone next to me, the judges and the social media people, I looked and they had like thrown their chairs back and they were watching from a distance, and I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Just a little blood.
You're missing out.
Right.
Come on, man.
Come
Stick
on,
your eye
man.
up here.
Sprayed by blood.
Yeah.
Whoa.
We're having the best time ever.
The Romans would have loved it.
I know. Well, and my photo partner that I was working with, he saw me and he's like, oh, you're having the best night of your life. Yes, I am.
I can agree with that.
Yes. And then, yeah, the people backstage
Where
were
do
like,
you go from here? How can you top all that stuff?
I don't know.
Just keep
I'm
doing it, or
trying to get.
is there some frontier that you aspire to?
I would like to shoot. Well, hello, Joe Rogan. I would like to shoot some UFC, so that's my next goal.
Nice.
And then maybe some like weird high fashion stuff, and then go
Really?
to a slum in like a foreign country, maybe India.
India.
Yeah, I would like to go hang
Cambodia.
out with people like in hardcore slum zone for like a whole week, and live with them. That would be cool.
Remember the last time I was in Cambodia, there's this area you can go out to, and it's on this huge lake. I can't remember the name of the lake, I should remember it. But Cambodia has a huge lake in the middle of the country. And it rises a lot. And so you go to this community, and all the houses are on stick, you know, and they're 20 feet up in the air.
That's terrible.
And when you're walking through it, there's just garbage everywhere, right? I mean, because they don't have
Unless they
garbage
have it.
service.
It's like the homeless.
Right, exactly. And so you're just walking through it, and eventually you get onto a boat, and it's sort of this weird thing because on the boats, they'll have the camers, right, the crocodiles, and they'll have them down in this pit of the boat, and you can look down into them. It's really bizarre because it's like it's really cruel, you know. And they have their snouts, you know, like basically belted off so they can't snap too much, and I remember Angela going like, that's just, I just feel horrible for these animals, and like the camera person, the Cambodian was like, why? And like she was like, well, you know, they kill children. I'm like, well, I'm sure they do, but that
Doesn't mean to keep them.
keep them. But I mean, like in this lake, like you're gonna be floating, and you'll see little eyes pop up, you know, and they have all this. There's certain areas where they have the heavy grass that's coming out of the water and everything, and they kind of hide out in there. And it's just like, I can see some fisherman dude, you know, he's like casting his line trying to get his family their dinner or whatever, and one just rolls over and takes them underneath.
They will eat you.
They will eat you. So they are dangerous for sure. But it's just it's so fascinating being like in those sort of countries, because it's just like the one thing that you learn any kind of travel is just like the culture and how they react to things, and there's sort of like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like one of these situations where it's just like, well, they don't really care what happens to the crocodiles because they're just, you know, they're living in filth.
That's true.
And, you know, and it's just like, you know, I mean, it's just sort of like, oh, if I keep some crocodile, some farang, which is, you know, white people, will want to look at it. Oh, look at the crocodiles, and they'll give you some money, you know, for that.
That does
you
make
know,
sense, actually.
You know, and so it's sort of like,
One, you don't get eaten by that crocodile.
right, and
Two,
one, you make money
serve
off
some
of it.
dumbass white people for like $10.
Right, exactly.
All right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it makes sense to them, and I mean, everyone's trying to get by. One of the most fascinating like stories I have out of Cambodia was we were in a town called Kampot, which is a nice town. It's where they produce a large percentage of the world's pepper. So they have pepper farms. Very nice town.
Sneezy.
And they take you out the pepper farms. you actually do pepper tasting, which I wasn't a big fan of because it's just like, how much pepper can you eat? You know
Like
what
a
I
whole
mean?
peppercorn?
Like they put it on stuff at the same time you're eating pepper. But anyway, it was kind of a nice
That's
experience.
spicy.
Yes.
I've eaten a peppercorn by accident.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
spicy.
like, and they have like 20 different kinds. Anyway, so we were with our tour guide, and we wanted to go out to this. Lake that was called Secret Lake, and so the guy that took us in a tuk-tuk, I don't know if you know what a tuk-tuk is. It's a 3-wheeled thing, and you have the guy in front, and you have the seats in back that you can sit in. And, you know, you're tooling down these dirt roads going about 40 miles an hour in this, you know, crazy mechanism, you know, you're bouncing all over the place. And so he lives in that area, and he stopped at one point. He's like, that's my farm, and I have 2 water buffalo, and I have this many rice fields, and 6 chickens, and like, you know, all this stuff. And he was very proud of it. You know, Cambodia is an emerging economy after the Khmer Rouge, you know, the horrible regime that was. And so we go to the lake or whatever, and it's, you know, it's a normal lake. But the thing about
Not a great secret.
Yeah, well, the secret is not the lake, or that's hard to find. The secret is that what's buried underneath the lake. So, like in, you know, the Khmer Rouge took over, they came through and they took all the local villagers, and for some reason they had to build this water aqueduct thing. And so they brought them all out and they forced them into labor. They had hardly any shovels, so they were literally digging this man-made lake with their hands in like scorching heat, you know, 96 degrees, 98% humidity.
Are they all under the lake?
Yes.
I knew that.
So it's like 10,000 people
Oh my
are buried
gosh.
underneath the lake, and that's the secret of the secret lake.
I knew that's where we were going.
Yeah.
It's a mass graveyard.
Yeah, it's a mass graveyard underneath the lake. And the thing that's interesting about Cambodia, too, is that, like, you don't know if this guy's family was, and he just kept saying, very sad, very sad. And you didn't know if this guy...
why is he still alive?
Right. And you don't know if this guy was... his family was Khmer Rouge, or if they were the victims of Khmer Rouge, because it's all mixed up now.
Yeah, right there in the lake.
Right, exactly. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
How did you avoid the lake?
You know, I mean, that's what's really fascinating about Cambodian society is that they've sort of all forgiven each other. Like, oh, yeah, we murdered a quarter of the population, but, you know, we're good now, you know. It's just like, we just got a little crazy back then.
That's like any family gathering.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
did. I know a family down in California when I was living down there who had escaped from Cambodia, and anybody who after the Khmer Rouge took over, anyone who was wearing eyeglasses was dead on the spot.
Yeah.
Because they were intellectuals, obviously, and they had to go.
Any teachers, any police,
Yeah,
any,
teachers were gunners.
you know, yeah.
So they just took off into
Right,
the
you're
jungle. And
I'm
walked.
supposed to wear glasses, but I'm not doing it right now, so because I can't put it against the eyepiece of my camera.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's right. You see.
I'm an intellectual, but a creative.
Right,
So I
creative.
escape.
Well, they got rid of creatives too.
This is not going to save you when the socialists take over.
Well, I'm afraid of contact lenses,
Oh.
so
I used
I
to wear
just
them for years. I
don't
can't
see
wear them
them.
anymore. My eyes get dried out too much. It's just like, okay, I've always been super vain, so it's like, I hate wearing glasses because I look stupid or something. But, you know, I've gotten used to it.
it
I
can
like
kill
it.
you, bro.
I know.
I actually like glasses. I like hiding behind them. The bigger, then the worse, the
Uh-huh.
better. But I can't use my camera at the same time, so I have like learned to just see blurry.
Do you take pictures instinctively? Are you at a point where you really don't even have to look at the viewfinder, whatever the viewfinder flash up is, you know, like the back of the camera compose?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
It depends. Like, if I know the tool that I'm using really well, it depends on the lens. It depends, because I have different camera bodies and stuff that I swap out with.
Right.
But I do have a method where I'm like, I have it down here, and I'm just like operating through the ecosystem that I'm in, and I know what I'm shooting. And hopefully something good comes out of it. But yeah.
Right.
So not everything is super thought out.
My question.
It has to be sort of, I imagine it has to be sort of intuitive a lot of the time.
I mean, like, I operate through intuition a lot anyway, so...
The camera becomes part of you. It's an extension of
It's
you.
very similar to any kind of artistry. I mean, the best art comes out of, like, just supreme intuition, just when it sort of, the muse flows through you, so to speak. You know what I mean? Where it's just, like, sort of like, when I've ever been my most creative, I didn't think about it at all. It just happened, right?
Yeah,
it
you
just
have
sort
to
of
be
happens.
open to the situation.
Yeah.
And, like, if you feel like you're overthinking it or, like, clamping down on yourself, then, like, for me, like, I started out with painting and drawing. That's the methods that I was, like, going with for a while. And I learned composition through that, and I learned how to, like, know when I was feeling like I was open and that things were working. And when things were working, they happened very fast. So if I had a drawing or a painting and it was working, it was like one night it was done.
Yep.
If I'm belaboring it and I'm like overthinking and it's not really working, I'll just end up throwing it away. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So,
I've dabbled around with art a little bit myself, and I did a big cleanup of my back room where I had all this crap piled up, and a lot of it had to go out. And the stuff that went out was all, I overthought it.
yeah, it's just,
I look at it and I go, I know
you
what
worked
you're
at
trying
it
to
and
do
you
here.
worked at it and you're like, oh, I'll just keep working
just
at it.
work it out.
It's-
Just
yeah.
exhaust it.
Yeah, I have thrown piles and piles and piles of artwork out where I'm like, I don't even care about this.
Right.
And part of it's mental illness, to be honest. Like, I have episodes where I'm like, everything's gotta go. I throw out, like, all the stuff in the house, and then my family's like, where did that thing go? Why don't we have a dish trainer
I think
anymore?
that's a very good thing. You need to refresh
You
it
do.
once in a while.
Yeah.
Too many people in this culture are too attached to things.
Well,
That's what I learned
I
through
become
my
very detached sometimes.
through my Buddhist leanings. Is just like you can't be attached to everything.
Well, I
Sometimes-
grew up with
yeah.
parents who'd gone through the Great Depression.
Yeah.
So
of
they
that
got pretty.
generation.
They got pretty.
And those people didn't
Yeah,
throw
anything.
anything
Yeah.
Right.
away.
Right.
My mom used to sit there at dinner. She's gone, God bless her, but she'd have a plate in front of her, and she would, like eat it the way you regularly would, and then she would take a little piece of Wonder Bread, of course, that's all we had then, and she would clean. You could almost put the plate back in the cupboard. She would clean
I
every
wish my kids
little
would do
thing
this.
up.
Every little
My
thing.
kids,
When you go hungry.
God bless them. Like, I need to
Yeah.
starve them a little bit because
Right.
they're so spoiled.
Right.
Now, I made them a beautiful dinner before I left the house. But they leave.
All right. Starving time.
They'll take 2 hours. They'll take 2 hours to eat a piece of toast. And they complain at me that I made it. And I'm like, you need to suffer.
Listen, you little bastard.
Yeah. And I starved them for a while.
All right, put that down, Richard, because we're going to the next one here.
This bottle fills me with hope.
It's a nice
Oh,
bottle. It's a
Bardstown.
nice bottle. This is the Bardstown Distillery. So this
It's
also
where?
produces Noah's Mill. It's over there in Willett Rye.
Wow.
I've also been to this one. Very simple distillery over there. It's like you go into a little room. It's not much. Well, probably about the 1,000 square feet. And they have their little thing, and then you can go outside and do some
Tie
tasting.
you down, open your
Yeah,
mouth,
but
and pour
they-
a quart right down your gullet.
But they produce great stuff, and I
With an
love
automatic tip.
this is and I love their bottles.
Oh.
And this is another wheated bourbon, so you can see the wheat there, the
Oh,
chafe.
that's very
I'm
No,
gonna say,
it's
okay,
great.
speaking of wheat, I tried the Billy wheat at McMenamin.
Okay.
The name did not fill me with hope for this being delicious. I was like, Billy wheat, come on man, like, Give me some monkey puzzle.
Right.
Come on, man.
Right.
But it was actually very good. So
Yeah.
if you want to try the Billy Wheat and McMahon,
It's recommended.
I recommend.
All right.
It's pretty good.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So weeded bourbon, it
That's
has.
our theme for the evening, isn't it?
It's
Yes.
all about wheat.
So generally bourbon is not made with wheat, so that's
It's
why they
a
call it
corn
weeded.
thing, right?
Yeah. So corn, barley, rye, rye, that kind of thing. But they'll add, sometimes with weeded bourbons, they'll do all four, and they call it a 4-grain. But this sort of usually takes place of the barley a lot of times. I don't know if they have it. Do they have the mash bill? No, it takes place of, so it's 53% corn, it's 39% wheat, so it's quite a bit of wheat in it, and it's 8% malted barley. So this is really nice.
So it can't be bourbon if it doesn't have corn. Am I
Yeah,
right about
it
that?
has to be 51% corn.
Right, okay.
So weeded bourbons tend to be a little lighter on the palate, a little sweeter, a little little summer sipping.
What's the proof on this?
It's actually pretty.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty steep for a weeded. It's 106, which is the
Whoa.
highest weeded bourbon I've ever heard of. But this is really good.
Now, you told me that I could not take my clothes off on this podcast. But now you're going to give me...
I said no nudity.
Bourbon.
I said specifically no nudity. But, we can throw ideas
cool though.
around. I mean,
I left my shoes on so that I could, if we're doing strip...
you can keep your clothes on, I swear to God.
Well, wait a minute.
This
Let's
is-
put it to a vote.
This is actually as naked as I ever get. I basically came in here completely nude.
We love the
I'm
red
showing my
Zeppelin
shoulders and way too much leg.
You have the
so-
best, rock tees,
Okay,
too.
here's a good story.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I was repeatedly told by these very tolerant leftists, and once again today, you have to stop wearing those band t-shirts because everyone in those bands would hate you.
Led Zeppelin actually like you,
I
probably. They're all
demand.
conservatives.
I have this, I regularly wear Joy Division, The Cure, Susie and the Banshees,
Mm-hmm.
and I have others, but they're not in high rotation.
Right.
No
This is-
Rolling Stones?
I don't have any Rolling Stones.
You do the punk rock stuff a little bit, right?
I wear the things that I
Yeah.
like.
Mm-hmm.
But I get crazy shit from these people who are like, I demand that you stop wearing that. I demand that you stop wearing that. I'm gonna start tagging people in your posts. Who made you the gatekeeper?
Right.
I listen to this music,
Yeah.
you dumb fuck.
Yeah.
Like with Joy Division, I went and saw Peter Hook,
Uh-huh.
who is the bassist for Joy Division and New Order, in real life in Portland because I love their music so much.
Right.
You're gonna
Who says
you're
you
gonna
have to...
gatekeep me out of this? I actually saw the music. Did you see the music? You probably did not.
Right.
Oh, he'll hate you. He'll hate you. He'll kick you out.
Like these people have any idea, have any
Kick you out of the
taste at
show.
all, artistic ability or taste at all. They don't.
Yeah.
I've seen their art. It's
Or
awful.
I've posted photos of okay, so once upon a time, Spin Magazine
Mhm.
tried to hire me
Mm-hmm.
to shoot, which I've worked with them before, but they tried to hire me to shoot some music in Portland. And whatever the band was that's based out of Seattle, which I won't name, was gonna go to this venue in a multi-band show and decided that I was too transphobic to enter the building. So I lost my job. I was being hired and I lost my job
You
to
got
shoot.
fucking canceled, bro.
I got canceled because I'm transphobic. I don't know what I did, but I got barred from the venue because apparently I'm transphobic and I lost my job. So, on the heels of that, I've actually gotten into some buildings and I've done some shooting of music, and I think I did a pretty good job
Yeah.
because I do stuff
Yeah,
Well,
you'd be perfect for rock.
when
for
I
rock.
do it.
Well, they're all schizophrenics anyway, so
They
you're
are.
kind of,
Well, I love
you're
music.
home free.
When I do something, I want to do it well. So I've shot music, I put it online, and people are like, "Oh, if they only knew who you were, like, they would have kicked you the fuck out of their building and beat the shit out of you. And I'm like, wow, okay, that sounds illegal and intolerant, but okay.
I
It's kind of like they want to know, well, what was Walker Evans really like so we can hate all the pictures he took?
Exactly.
Well, it's just like, you know, I mean...
But everybody takes rock and roll, but very few people take bloody fighters.
Right.
And
I get in the
you really
shit.
don't even need to bother with rock and roll.
Right.
It's kind of, it's cliche stuff.
I still like it.
Yeah.
Well, sure, yeah.
I still like
I'm
it.
sure it's
I
artistic,
like the
but
fighting better, though,
your
actually.
métier is unbeatable, I think.
But
Here's
who
my
of these
question.
people are willing to go into the middle of, like, drug dealers and just
Right.
hang out with them for a while?
Right.
They're not. They're not going to hang out with the drug dealers. They're not going to help
But they are
somebody.
picturesque. You'll have to grant them that.
Most of them do not want to have their pictures taken.
Right. For some reason.
For whatever reason, sometimes
Especially
they
with a
invite
little
me.
placard underneath their chin.
No, it's the chest bag. They wear chest
Uh,
bags. It's the little Hondo kids with their
Right.
scooters. and
Their
chest
scooters,
bags.
the 16-year-old Hondos.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they
Do any of those guys speak English?
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they ever talk about their stories at all, or
I don't ask them because I don't want to
get them in trouble?
I can tell who not to like really involve
mess
myself with.
around with. Yeah.
Like there was one day where I was walking circles through Chinatown trying to find somebody that I had something for.
Mm-hmm.
It was dog food.
Mm-hmm.
And these drug dealer kids, the Hondos with the little chest bags, were like on the same circuit that I was.
Yeah.
And I happened to be behind them. And at one point they stopped and they were like, "Do you need something?" And I was like, "Kinda. I'm looking for this one person I have dog food for." And they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so nice of you. Let me help you. Let me help you find the person."
Here, jump on my ride,
Yeah.
baby.
So, you know, it flipped, but like, I'm not going to ask them questions.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't need to.
We've had, since we kind of cover the cartel thing, we've had people tell us like, well, the cartel knows about you. That kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, I'm sure they probably do. I'm sure they probably know a lot about a lot of people.
What underwear am I wearing?
Yes, cartel people.
Yeah.
Well, they know who'll take the money and who won't.
Right.
That's for openers.
It's like, yeah, it's easy with taking the money. I get asked constantly if I have clear on me. If
Yeah.
you're selling clear, do you want to buy clear?
What is clear? It's like
It's meth.
Meth. Yeah.
Yeah, they say clear because, not because of the color, but because it clarifies your mind.
I'm sure.
That's- It does.
Well,
I
it's
mean-
sort of like if you're doing fentanyl, and that's sort of the reverse, right? It's
It
sort of
is,
like
yeah.
you wake up with clear, and then you go at night, you go to the fentanyl, and then you want to stay up. If you don't want to sleep because you might get attacked, you take the
Yeah,
meth.
you stay up
Have
all
you
night.
ever done fentanyl?
Not intentionally. I've done meth intentionally. I've done that. Fentanyl, I've been exposed to it enough where I know the
I would
feeling.
think you would just be able to smell it.
Oh.
And that would be.
Fentanyl is I walked through fentanyl clouds. It's
I do.
It smells like you can't even describe it. It smells like
Okay.
burnt kerosene.
Here's
I mean,
a
it's
weird
just
thing.
like horrible.
Here's a weird thing. I am a super smeller.
Yeah.
in general.
Okay.
However, with meth and fentanyl, I am like way less offended by the smell of it than other people are. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like I grew up near meth cookers or something, which is true. Like on my road, they were cooking meth. But I have been exposed, so I know the feeling, and it actually did happen to me.
I'm super like
2 days
sensitive
ago.
to drugs, and so like I walk through fentanyl clouds. Oh, you can't get a cup. Of course you can. If you're walking through
Yeah, the fentanyl clouds, you really can.
you really can. Like
you
I
get
like
exposed.
like
Yeah.
I felt sick.
Well,
Like
here's the thing: they're smoking the fentanyl off the foil.
yeah,
If you're not going to expose, you're not like the foil smoke.
yeah, it's
It's
blowing
not like-
into them. Yeah, they're
With the meth, if someone's inhaling it and breathing it out, you're not really going to get
Right.
harmed. If they're smoking it directly and it's like puffing into the air, you're all getting exposed to the same thing.
right.
And I have come around a corner and gotten a face full of fentanyl smoke.
Yeah,
I've taken a lot of pictures of people smoking fentanyl, but I get right in it, but then I kind of back out.
Right.
There was one night where I was in a tent with people who were doing meth and fentanyl, and I felt
Whoa.
really weird afterwards. But
Yeah.
that was kind of a mistake. So I know the feeling, and the other day, I don't know how it happened. I must have touched something because you can get you can absorb it through your skin.
Yeah.
Really?
And I know the feeling. I'll get like numbness in part of my tongue. My throat will get numb, and then one of my eyes will get weird. And I was like standing in the street a couple of days ago, and I was like, I'm on fentanyl. Like, I don't know how it happened. I don't know what I touched because there was no smoke. But like, this side of my body has fentanyl inside of it.
Right.
And I just had to like wait for it to work out. And it like, the feeling is a little panicky when you're not like, when you're not used to it, but I do.
Right.
Like, I've done this enough times. All right, I'm cool. Like,
well, Kevin was forced to smoke meth in LA at one point, right? Like he was, like they were.
That's a lot more fun than accidentally doing fentanyl. Meth, like you get stuff done.
Yeah. Well, my experience with meth was a completely different experience because I did it when I was young enough where it was crank, right? And
I
so
did it when it was meth.
It was like biker crank, you know. It was sort of blonde in color, and like you do a line this big, and you'd be up for 24 straight hours.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, and it was just like whoa, you know.
Okay, maybe that was my experience. Like when I did meth, I had a stint of it as a teenager.
Yeah.
But it really when I hear them say clear, I'm like, okay, well I get that.
Yeah.
Because my mind was clarified. I got a bunch of stuff done. I was a very good worker. I got all my schoolwork done.
Yes.
And I didn't sleep anyway, so like, what was the difference?
What's the difference?
Like,
might as well be high.
Yeah, I might as well get some things done. Like, but
after the first 48 hours, it does tend to get boring.
Oh man.
No, it does not, because you're like reading books, you're getting your things done.
I mean, 24 hours, I start getting, my mind just starts getting weird. It's just like I can't.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Nobody's
you know what I
meant
mean?
to be up that long. That's
No,
not
and
how we're
it's
wired.
just like, God, I wish I could sleep right now. You know?
I never wished that. Like, but yeah, I'm glad I quit when I did.
I had a very good friend of mine, this is back in my Seattle days, who gave me a present. And they were time release uppers of some kind. I don't know exactly what it was. Benzodrine, something.
I was going to
like
say
that.
benzos.
And, you know, so you drop one and you think, oh, nothing's happening. Maybe I better take another one.
Oh no. No.
It's like the mushroom thing, right?
And as you're kind of, you know, as you're really locked into it, and there's no going back, there's no changing
my
anything,
gosh.
you are stuck.
Yeah.
What
That's
it would
panicky.
do is you
That's
would
panicky.
get totally like, "Wah," and then it would start, oh, okay, it's over now, it's over now, it's over now, I can
Oh,
go to bed,
time
I can go to
release.
sleep, and
Yeah,
you're back
exactly.
up.
And it hits again.
3 days of that. With
Oh
Oh
gastro.
my gosh.
God.
That sounds bad because you have no control over what's happening
No.
to you.
You are in for the ride.
You're on the ride.
That sounds claustrophobic.
Yes.
I don't like that.
Yes.
I want to know what's going to happen to me. Like, no thanks.
It was kind of like when I took my daughter, when she was probably around 4 or 5 years old. We went to Disneyland. Not
This
terribly
story is
interested in
also
Disneyland, but and put her on one of the rides, and it was the Monsanto shrinking human being.
Monsanto?
Yeah, it was
Did they
sponsored by
gas her?
Monsanto.
Was it mushroom gas? Mustard.
Sponsored by Monsanto.
Mustard, not
Yeah,
mushroom.
chemicals
Pure
wrong.
evil in the form of a
Food.
corporation.
And the whole idea
Everything
was,
died.
it was this really stupid ride. I mean, people forget Disneyland
those
way
guys.
back when was dumb. So
I am
you have
not
this
suicidal.
huge eye looking down through a microscope, and the idea is you're shrinking. You're going to go down to be the size of an atom. And my daughter looked up at
This is
that big eye
terrifying.
looking down, and she started to shriek.
Well, duh.
And she didn't stop for the entire duration of the ride.
That is terrifying.
It was very scary.
Sounds
That's like
scary.
existential. And it's Monsanto. They probably want to kill you
She
anyway.
probably knew that, oh my God,
Mustard
they're going to make
gas.
us all sick.
I had a nightmare the other night that I got covered in Roundup.
God.
Like, I woke up that way. I was like, oh God, I gotta get.
Horrible.
I'm.
Roundup is like horrible.
I know. Well, we had an episode with, like, when we first moved into our Portland house, our neighbor had it
You know, Roundup.
in our backyard. And I found one of my kids, like, hosing the other with it. It was the worst. I was like, I'm in hell. I'm in hell. I moved to where I thought everyone was, like, very eco and, like,
Right.
didn't want this.
Organic. And,
There's a Roundup in my
manure.
backyard and my kid was, like, hosing himself with it. I am super crunchy. Like, yes, I am a based Trump voter.
Right.
But I also put bee pollen flakes on my salad today. So, like,
Same way.
you know, I'm very crunchy, but I also want things to work.
Oh, I want, yeah. I want natural foods that don't have a bunch of chemicals in them. I mean, that's what I try to eat all the time.
Just put the cows on some grass and then milk them and eat them.
Right,
How hard is it?
exactly.
Give them some grass, like, do it how it's supposed to be done. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, but then I went to Trader Joe's a couple days ago, and
I'm sorry.
I had to buy the chocolate with little bits of pretzel and pistachios.
Oh man.
They
What
have
could
the
be worse for you?
Oh.
Milk, dark chocolate.
Wait,
Trader
dark
Joe's
chocolate?
has the best chocolate, like the chocolate caramels.
By the time you get to the parking lot, you weigh 10 pounds more.
So
You just
good.
absorbed it through you.
No, I exercise through feeling anxious about, like, the people around me, because I have gotten so much shit from the people who shop there. They're, like, aggressive towards me. Like they know who I am, and they're like,
Surely you don't go to Ralph's.
yeah. Look at my organic
And
merch.
Bimart? Oh no.
Okay, wait. I love Bimart.
It's the best place to buy ammo.
It is a great place to buy ammo. Yes.
Gotta say.
And when I was a teenager, I got all of my white T-shirts there. I bought Dickies pants there,
Yeah.
and I bought all of my hats there.
It's
Which
a solid place.
I still have one that my kids wear, which is like a trucker snapback that says it has a bowl on it, and it says, "My cow died, so I don't need your bowl." I bought that at the Lincoln City Bimart when I was like 15, 16. I was driving. Yeah.
Do you have a gun?
Yes, I do.
Care
I
to
have
share?
2 guns. Well, okay, I'm between. So, I own a handgun and a shotgun,
That's what I have.
and I got to shoot a 44 Magnum when I was on vacation recently,
Right.
which
God.
was a wonderful
That's
experience.
artillery.
I blew up cans of beans all over myself, and I was like a dead shot with this thing. I don't know what it is. I guess I'm Dirty Harry, but like I fucked some things up with the Dirty Harry gun.
When I
I
was in Krakow, I got to shoot a machine gun.
Oh my
Like
God.
like they'll have like, oh, you spend €100 and you can shoot, and they let you pick what you want to shoot. You know, it takes 20 minutes or whatever, and just like, okay, now it's time to shoot the fully automatic machine gun.
In my mind, you're Rocket Raccoon. Like, okay. I have a weenie handgun that I got during COVID because it was the only thing on the. So it's a.
Oh, you can, because at that point everyone was getting them, right? Because
There was nothing on the shelf.
Right.
I needed something that I could pack on my body to
Mhm.
shoot somebody if I needed to. But it's a 380. It's a Glock. I have a Glock 380.
Yeah.
Now I don't enjoy it. It jams whenever I put like
Yeah.
self-defense rounds inside of it. So here's my plan. I'm gonna go to the English Pit, which is in Vancouver. It's an outdoor range. I'm gonna divest myself of all of the 380 ammo I have, no matter how many times it jams. I'm gonna get rid of all of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting a 9mm, and then I'm gonna go shoot that shit too. But I also have a shotgun. So
What kind of shotgun you got?
it's a Winchester.
What gauge, you know?
Well, it's not a slug and it's not a bird shrimp.
Like a
It's
12
12 gauge.
12 gauge, wow.
Which I also got to shoot when I was on vacation.
Love shotguns.
And I blew some shit up with that too.
Oh.
It was
Shotguns
fun.
are amazing.
That was so fun. Oh my gosh, like.
Guns are fun. That's the thing that all the anti-gun people just simply cannot get through their heads.
It's
Yeah, they're
thrilling.
fun.
It's so
fun.
thrilling. It
Ah.
feels so good to just like obliterate something. And my house, my sunroom, my windows, they're all decorated in targets that I have that I've blown the center out of.
Like their guts out.
Yeah. So whenever I've done a good job of like blasting the center out of my targets, I just put them up in the windows to send a message. And
You're a good mom.
I am, and I watch people walking past the house, and there's reactions where they're like, oh yeah, and then they're like.
And Angela always makes fun of me because a lot of times I'm looking out my front window just seeing what's coming. She's just like, you're such a
Well, yeah, but when Angelita and the other socialists finally get their revolution, your neighbors are going to come to your house first. Because you can get serious.
So Jamal and his family's going to live here now because you don't own this property anymore. The state does. And we're not going to pay you for it. That's what they
It's
want.
social housing.
Yeah, it's social housing.
That'll work out.
And you've got 12 hours to move out. Well,
Right,
as a matter of
exactly.
fact, we'll give you 6.
Right, exactly. If you don't, we'll shoot you.
Yeah, land back. We don't know where you're gonna go because none of us know where we're from.
The
So
funniest thing about land back is just like if any of these people actually knew like actual like Native Americans, they know that these people like fought over. It wasn't really that they fought over the land. It was like they would fight over like being able to hunt the land or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like they owned the land, but it was just like, no, you need to get over here because we want to kill these buffalo, and if you don't, well, we'll murder you. And, some of the most brutal societies in the history of mankind are American Indians.
And it was all in flux. And if
Yeah.
I think we're gonna figure out where we came from, like the same thing happened in Europe too. They just conquered one another, killed each other,
Right.
took over, and went back and forth.
Because that's human nature.
That's how it went. Nobody is from anywhere.
Right. It's so true.
I loved reading about how Genghis Khan,
Oh, I love this guy.
if you do a DNA test of almost anybody in Europe, Genghis Khan got there first.
Really?
Yeah. His DNA is extremely present.
So he was
throughout-
tapping that shit everywhere.
Well, he married a lot of girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of as he moved east.
Right. Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of the way it was until very, very recently in human history.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just spread their
Like if human history is this, like what we've experienced is like that, There was someone did a video on YouTube that's amazing that showed the history of of Earth, and then showed like recent history. Like in recent, I mean like when humanoids first started rummaging through the forests and everything like that. And so they did it on a timeline. It was like out in like Utah, like salt flat type thing.
Yeah.
And it was literally like it was stretched over something crazy like I don't know. It was like a couple of miles. And like recent human history over like 2 miles was this.
Same thing if you go down to the Redwood country down in Northern California. You see these huge cross-section of logs.
Yeah.
And this tree was growing way out, it's like 6 feet across.
Right.
And then you get way down in there and there's this little spot. Columbus discovers the new world.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like infinitely small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And
Our
also,
lives are short.
we
and,
think we know everything.
Right.
We don't.
We don't.
And then history is written by like whoever gets to write it. So.
But who are the
True.
There's a lot of people in Portland who think they do know everything.
Well, they're stupid.
And I'm talking about like our city council.
They are behaving exactly the way they should.
Yeah.
It was designed this way.
It was.
Nobody can seem to get this through their head.
Right.
Maybe because I'm dead wrong, but it was designed.
You and
this
I
way
saw
from
this the way
get-go.
we saw it from
To be a shit show?
From
To be a shit show?
yeah, from
absolutely.
the beginning of
Yeah.
like, oh, we're going to create a new government and we're going to have these people create the new government.
If you had a mayor who had a veto, the mayor, the city council
Or a vote,
would
for
have
fuck's sake.
behaved. They have not yet been able to wrap up all of the 140 or 120, whatever it is, amendments to the budget. And the mayor simply would have said, whatever you guys pass, I'm going to veto it.
Yep.
You can only come up with 7 votes, the most.
Yeah.
It's the way you're split. You're screwed.
Yeah.
It's going to be my budget or nothing.
Yeah.
And they would get into line. But,
No.
that's not the way it was designed.
No.
Julie
They wanted to
Meyer and her
completely take
crew
away the
designed
power
it
of.
a different way.
Yes.
And nobody can get that through their head.
They wanted these little insignificant motherfuckers that are barely educated.
At least Chris
And-
Olsen didn't make it in. Love you.
Oh,
yourself.
God. That chipmunk motherfucker.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He
What?
gave me the meanest words on the internet.
Oh, yeah. He is and he just moved here like 2 years ago.
He's
He
from
just.
Florida. I
Right.
think he's a pedophile from Florida.
He's got this big fat. He looks like a chipmunk.
He's this tall.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
oh, there's something wrong with this guy.
There is. I mean, and I'm not a violent person.
I
But
am.
we-
But
I
he
am.
has a supremely punchable face.
But let me jump in here.
I'm a very violent person.
If there are any 2 people in the city of Portland who could be, it won't happen, but let's play with it for a minute. If somebody
That's what
came
she
along
said.
and say, Kevin and Tara, we want you to solve the homelessness crisis for us.
Jesus.
You would be the most qualified 2 people in the entire city, certainly in the state, maybe on the West Coast, to be able to say, okay, here's what we got to do.
Wait for Richard.
I'm okay.
Well,
Seriously.
I'm giving her a little.
And
more.
nobody has anybody in any position of any kind of power whatsoever come to you guys and said, even at the level of, come on, let's have lunch, and talk to you about what you guys know better than any 2 people in this entire region about this problem. They ever come to you guys?
No. Asterisks. Our current mayor used my photos for his campaign.
Wow.
You pay for it?
Yeah.
Really?
Did he?
Wow.
He said
Well, do you think
he said he would solve homelessness within a year.
Well, it's.
And
Time is running out.
Yeah.
It's getting a
paid
little
me for
short.
my photos, but he has not discussed it with us since that.
Well,
And-
his plan, Keith's plan, is stick them all overnight in some kind of environment.
So his
Then let them
plan.
go the next day.
His plan is to circumvent the Martin versus Boise judgment, decision, which was overruled by the Supreme Court. But unfortunately, our wonderful Democrats in this state codified that ruling with HB 3115.
That was the Nonprofits Protection Act of 2024.
Yeah,
whatever
they
it was.
codified the
Can
rule.
actually,
So
like,
while
get around
other
that
jurisdictions like ridiculous ruling,
California and
we
Washington.
can't because we're so stupid in this state and so corrupt that we codified it with our own law, and so now
Wait, okay, what's the Boise thing? I know the grants passed.
So-
what do you?
so basically Martin versus Boise said is a ninth district court ruling that said that you cannot arrest people for being homeless if you cannot provide them,
Okay.
if you cannot provide the community of homeless people in your city shelter.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If they would just use their money, if they
Wisely.
would just use the money to open up not only shelter beds, but easily accessible detox.
Yes.
Easily. Because there are people who, in the moment, they're like, oh my gosh, like...
No, I've talked to people that are just
I'm
so
done with this.
afraid of detoxing, right?
Not afraid. I'm talking about like people who they have a moment of clarity. They're in the window of like, I want to solve this.
Right.
This is not my life.
Yeah,
I
this
don't want to do
sucks.
this. This sucks. Like, you have the moment of clarity. It is very difficult still to enter detox here.
It's insane.
It
Like
needs to be. It needs the money needs to go. Like, if they're gonna do that, if they opened up the floodgates to fucking hell,
Right.
and they put it all in here, you put the money towards. It's very easy to enter detox. Please just let people have an easy entrance to detox.
Yes.
It's too hard. They cannot line up at 5 a.m. at Hooper and like hope to get in. Like,
Right. And they
you're never gonna get like.
right. And most of them, like 1/3 of them or 1/4 of them, get in, and it's just like, oh, so now I got to show up tomorrow, and it's hard enough to. We've actually tried to give people rides to Hooper, and there was this woman.
It needs to be easy.
Yeah.
It has to be easy.
This woman was like, that we knew, she was like, oh yeah, and so we were like, okay, we're gonna take you to detox. And she was like, we're driving, she said, I just stop at Home Depot, I gotta use the bathroom.
She was gone.
And so she went into Home Depot, and then it was like, you know, time was getting short, it was
She
20
stole some
minutes,
cocaine
it's
on
30 minutes, and she was getting high in the bathroom, right, before she had to go to detox, which, you know, people do. I mean, so this is my last high, I gotta make it good.
that. Well, you still have it on you, why not?
You know, and so, you know, we go in there, we're knocking on the door, she won't answer, and we're telling the workers, just like, this woman's locked herself in the bathroom, we're trying to, and they finally open the door, and she was just like, well, what, and by the time, we got her back in the car, it was too late, and she did this 3 times.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, that's how hard it is to get people just there.
Exactly.
Like, but if people have that, like you said, have that initial inclination, it's just like, oh God, this is awful. I got raped for the 5th time. I can't do this anymore.
They opened the floodgates to hell into our city.
Right.
People from all over the country came here.
Yes.
To live this horrible life. And they promised, oh, well, we'll use the funds from whatever we cut to, like, open up detox so people are not going to jail. That didn't happen. They had no plan. There was no plan.
Right.
They planned nothing.
They planned nothing.
But they opened up the door.
They had no infrastructure at all.
They opened the door to hell, and they had no plan to deal with it.
Right.
So now we have all these people. If you're going to use the money, make it easy for people to get into detox.
The plan...
Because they realize there's one moment, like, there are moments in their lives where they're like...
Sure. Every addict has that.
This is not my life.
Every addict has that
I'm not
all
living.
the time.
I am not living. I'm dying.
Right.
You need to make it easier for them to transition from that because you made the ecosystem for them to destroy themselves.
Yes.
This hellscape was designed for people to die in.
Yes.
You need to let people get out of it, or else they're just gonna die. Like,
and basically, and they just put the system so they could basically, we're just gonna give all this money to these NGOs so they can enrich themselves and they can pay their EDs $170,000 a year and they can claim they're doing stuff and it's just like, oh, look at and it's just. It's an industry. It's become an industry that basically relies on more and more people entering the system as customers. I mean, it's
the homeless are
these people hate
They are, yeah.
these people hate
They're
capitalism,
they're
but they're creating
processed.
the biggest capitalist system around NGOs through government money.
Well, they're told that they can get housing if they like enter into the detox program sometimes, which even if they're not an addict, they will have to like claim that they are.
Yes.
And then enter into the detox program, which like hooks them onto methadone, and then they're like basically doing drugs at the same time anyway.
Well, let me ask you a basic question. Do you think someone who is a stone cold fentanyl addict, let's say, who has OD'd maybe 2 or 3 times, why should we revive them?
That's a good question.
I have to wonder if some of the fire people, you know, the people who have to come and, you know, do the whole thing with,
The first responders.
you know, Narcan. You know, Jeff and I had a kind of running joke, kind of a grim joke, but in the last election that I would run for city council on the No More Narcan label party. And you have to ask that question.
Right. These people are actively trying to kill themselves.
You've seen this day after day after day. You've saved people. So why? Why do you do that?
Okay, I do it because I have the power in my hand to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have the power in my hand to let somebody die, let them live. And I have to live with that. I have to carry it with me.
Yeah.
I see it, I experience it, I know this person, I've talked to them, like, and I have it in my hand. So what would you do? Like,
yeah,
if you're walking past somebody that you've talked to before, or you know, like, you can do something.
Yeah.
If you have the power to do it, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you use it if you know they're going to do it again? And you do know that.
I guess because, I mean, from my point of view, and I understand where Tara's going with this, is like, well, the possibilities are always there that they could figure it out, right? That no matter, I mean, if they get another chance at figuring it out.
That's pretty hopey-feely.
But I know it's true. It's one of these situations where it's just like they're angling their way down into the abyss, right? I mean,
They want to die.
Yeah.
They want to play with death. They want to dance with death.
Well, so do I.
They can't.
Like, I've done that. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But you don't let yourself go over the edge, and they do.
Fentanyl is so strong. It's so strong that it's like consume people at a rate that we can't even comprehend. It's not heroin, it's not meth,
right.
it's like people can do it once and just die. Like, I've talked to people so many times where they're like, oh, my partner, my wife, my husband did it once and they were just dead.
Yeah.
So you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't know. It's so strong. Like, the fentanyl, the thing that they've pumped into the streets is so strong that it can just, like, it one and done. Like, you're just done. And you don't even know. You could be smoking pot and you didn't know that meth was in it.
Yeah. Or
So
fentanyl is laced in it.
yeah, fentanyl. Like, I was talking to a dealer in Vancouver who was like, I'm not going to sell to this guy because I know that what I have has fentanyl in it, and I know if he does it, he's going to overdose. Like, it was a weird moment of, like, this guy really needed money, but he wasn't going to sell to somebody because he knew that the weed had fentanyl in it, and he knew the guy would die. So, like, you honestly just don't know. Like, if you have the power of life and death in your hand, and you're watching somebody die, are you just going to watch them die? Like, I can't do that. If I have it within my power, I just won't. Like, I'm not But if I don't have it, I just have to watch. Like, but I'm not God, so I don't know.
So I'm going to interject here for our final bottle of
Wild
bourbon.
turkey. Oh God, 101.
Back to
But
life.
this isn't just 101. This is 8-year 101. This is a special bottle.
It started losing its teeth
Yeah.
at 8 years. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a parent,
Yeah.
so.
This is a fabulous bottle here. And Wild Turkey makes some good stuff, like their rare breed stuff is really good. And this is, for a really good bourbon, this is like $45. So it has a little bit of that Wild Turkey funk to it.
I'm a redneck, so this is fine with me.
Wild turkey funk.
I
Wild
have
Turkey
shot a raccoon in the face with 22 in the middle of the night as a child. So I grew up in the woods. I'm
Right.
a redneck.
No, I grew up in
Which woods?
Montana.
Where did you grow up?
I've shot
I
some.
grew up in Lincoln City,
Oh, Lincoln City. Okay.
but not Lincoln City. I grew up in Otis.
Oh, okay.
You know Otis Cafe?
Kind of.
Ish.
Smell this first. It's
That was
fabulous.
my first job.
Oh,
It was
so
a
nice and
logging
sweet.
Don't light a lighter anywhere around it.
It's
I have
only
a torch.
101. It's not that
Would you
big.
like a torch? It probably has fentanyl residue on it because I
We'll
have.
blow ourselves up.
Tara wants to burn it down.
I was talking to somebody who was like trying to light his fentanyl foil the other day, and he dropped it on the ground, and I was like, oh, I'm nice. Let me help you. And I'm like, I'm holding it in my hand, and I'm like, what am I doing?
You could be indicted for saying
What
that.
am I doing with my life? I'm holding.
Right,
my-
I'm holding fentanyl.
That was not the day, coincidentally, when I had fentanyl.
Blowing in your face
No,
recently?
just the whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever exposure I had, it had to have been through my hands. because-
That one time, because it was one of those really cold days, right? Where you and Kevin were hanging out in
Well, that
tents.
was one day, yeah. No, this was like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Where I did not walk through a cloud. I don't know what happened, but I know that I touched it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know the feeling of fentanyl in my system.
Yeah.
I know it's like, it goes from my tongue to my throat to my eyeball.
Mm-hmm.
I have a system.
It just kind of shuts them down. Is there euphoria in there anyway?
No, I don't get enough to get euphoric. I'm just like, oh.
I'm one of these.
I don't
I
feel
think
good.
we're probably the same, similar. I hate opioids or downers. Like I don't.
Okay, well, no. I had an Oxy thing as a child. Like, I loved Oxy. I like an opioid. It's just.
I was always
Go back to the Valiant days.
I was always the white drug version. I like the upper stuff.
I just wish that I had done cocaine as a younger person, so I knew what it was like because I've never done it. But I did do meth, and I did. Okay, well, I would do Oxy.
Like
When
Rick James says, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
It sounds like it. I did
Robin
Oxy
Williams
as a child.
basically said, cocaine is God's way of telling you you're too rich.
You're right.
Apparently, these kids in my high school were like doing cocaine after I dropped out.
Well, they thought they were doing cocaine.
I
They
was-
probably weren't.
They
I
probably
was-
were not.
No, I mean even in central Montana, I had coke dealers as a 17-year-old.
They had them at my high school. I guess.
Yeah.
But I dropped
I was
out.
do- I was do- I was
freshman
doing.
year, so.
I remember the first. I mean, one of the biggest panics I ever had is like. I was like in high school, and I was like, as like 16, 17-year-old, you sleep all day, right? And so like I'm passed out in my bed, and my mom comes in, and she's and like and she's going through the clothes on my floor, picking them up, and I'm groggily sort of stirring, and I realize in my mind that the pants that she's picking up and going through the pockets with actually has a Coke vial in it with a little spoon on the end. You've seen those. You can screw and you have a little, and
Wow.
and I'm like,
Classy.
and I'm like,
Were you on Wall Street? Like, what is this story?
I always had good access to Coke. It's not a
Tiny
good story at
spoons?
all.
Tiny spoons?
Yeah, little tiny spoons. And so they weren't that hard to get. Anyway.
I have never seen a tiny spoon like this.
Really?
In my
So
life.
so they used to have the little vials, right, where you put the Coke in, and then attached to the cap was a little spoon. And so you'd unscrew the cap and you'd dip the spoon in and you'd put up your nose. Richard knows about
classy.
this, right? He's probably
Masters
seen
of the Universe. That was the,
I did
yeah.
meth through a rolled up dollar bill.
that.
On the
No, it
glass
has to be
table.
$100.
It has to-
No,
At least
dollar bill
20.
on the glass table of my childhood friend's dad's.
Of course you did.
Yeah. It was bad.
There's the thing about glass-topped coffee tables.
Yes!
too.
Yeah, totally.
It was on a glass top coffee table in
Because you
front
could
of
see all of it.
like a flat screen TV, but it was it had the whatever it was bulbs back there, facing Devil's Lake, and my friend's dad really wanted me to do math, so he gave me a rolled up dollar bill and put a line in front of me as like a 15-year-old, and he's like,
God.
"Oh, well, why don't you just do that?" Yeah.
And people say that, like, you know, we didn't have trauma growing up. There was a lot of trauma. We just
that was
stuffed it down.
That was the least of my
We didn't
trauma.
call it trauma, we called it fun.
That was the least of my trauma. That helped me deal with my trauma.
Right, exactly.
The trauma
Yeah, it's like,
only-
oh, this frees me from my trauma.
Yeah. The trauma we won't talk about. We'll talk about drug use. I'm not going to talk about
Right, the other stuff, the real stuff. Right, exactly. Oh my
that
gosh.
definitely predates it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there was a point in which people were putting their cigarettes out on my arms.
Oh, fuck. Jesus.
That was way before that.
Oh.
And that was in Salem.
Salem, Oregon.
Yeah. Not
Wow.
Lincoln.
Salem has always struck me as a rather crappy little town.
It's complete
Well,
shit.
Well, like, did you know that, like, they build capital cities, not only in the U.S., but everywhere in the world, to be, like, just crappy?
Why is
Like, they
that?
literally do. It's just like, you go to any
Well, they're full
capital
of
city.
lawyers and bureaucrats.
Right.
Capital is
And they have these
bad.
crappy
and-
buildings, and they're cheaply made, and everyone, they hate going to work because it just sucks being a fucking bureaucrat.
Why is
Yeah.
that? You would think that it would be built up around them feeling like special.
That's why they're so smug, and like they just know everything.
I drove down to Salem once and I just thought, well, I gotta go see the goddamn capital of Oregon. And it looked like a Nazi bunker.
It totally
Looks like they're on the 88
Oh,
something
yeah.
up in the
very
dome.
vertical. It's very vertical.
It completely looks like Soviet Russia. I mean,
And
it's
then
just
you
like
walk into one of the legislative chambers. I don't know if this is the House or
I
the
have
Senate.
been in there, yes.
And there's a huge mural full of white people taking land away from the Indians.
What?
Why they never got around to whitewashing that?
Right.
And the whole 22, like, come on. We all got to be black people.
Oh my gosh.
Completely ridiculous.
It's the hood taken away from the Deschutes.
what a lot of people don't understand is there's just a lot of white trash in this country.
they all,
Yes.
they all
you know
roll
what?
downhill into
You know
Oregon.
what? They have been poor.
They've
have
been poor for
They have been
generations.
poor, and you cannot tell them that they're privileged.
Right? No,
Fuck
because they're
you.
not.
Fuck you. I grew up on a logging road. I will not
Yeah.
accept it. I will
Right.
not accept this. I stole clothing so I
Yes.
could wear something as a child.
Yeah.
I will not accept that I was privileged.
Right.
I'm sorry. No. I mowed lawns. I watched dogs. I worked on a gas station.
I
No.
shot game for their pelts when I was 14, so I could earn money to get special things.
That is nice.
Like literally, like you shoot some coyote, you shoot some fox. You know, you skin them. You know, and you take them to the Pacific hide and fur, and they give you $50 a pelt.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, back in the 80s.
Okay.
It was
I
like-
used to
it was-
wash windows and get tips because I
Right.
was adorable as shit and like 4 feet tall and better at the high school dropouts from Taft that were supposedly making money at the.
How are
Whatever.
you ever 4 feet tall? You're like 6 feet tall.
Yeah, I've been 6 feet tall since. Like, okay, I was
You had a
pretending.
growth spurt.
I hunched. There's a lot of hunching going on. It was I wanted sympathy.
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty...
I understand.
No. I'm 5'6".
Okay, here's my final question. Since we've had all the booze and I'm wrecked.
I'm not.
When do you think the Portland Museum of Art is going to give you and Kevin a show?
They're gonna have to go to fucking like Oklahoma or something. I
The
mean,
Portland Museum of
seriously.
Art.
Texas.
You are the greatest photographers that the city of Portland has ever produced, bar none. When are they going to give you a show? Even in the little downstairs Prince Gallery, where they kind of stash all the secondary stuff. When are they going to give you a show?
When they decide they want to pay for the security for the riots that happen outside of the building.
Yeah, no shit. Jesus.
So never.
Well, they
I
gave
mean,
a
the most
show to the black photographers who documented the days of rage.
I have been down there. I have been through that. I took my children through the art museum, and then when I left, I got stalked by some little Antifa shits back to my car. So
the ultimate validation of your work.
Right.
it was kind of terrible. It was the same people who I tried to go to a concert at the Moda Center, and they were stalking me and my husband on a date night.
Wow.
And then sending me DMs saying, we're tracking you through the building and deciding whether we want to ruin your night or not. Those were one of the kids who was running the security at the door was the same one that I saw outside of the art museum after I took my kids there.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, this is messed up. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. Yeah. So I was watching all my corners, like with my kids, just trying to get back to the car because I see the same kid.
Jeez.
Yeah, who told me at an event that I showed up at Pioneer Square, I'm stalking you.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm stalking you.
I'm
I know you are.
15. Hey.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
We,
man.
we don't get that. We don't get that like you guys do. I don't know why that is. I mean, we've gotten some of it, obviously, but
They're
we don't
mad.
get.
They're mad because I look like I should be them and I'm not. No, I'm serious. Like,
I think you're absolutely
They're-
dead on.
they're
right.
double
Yeah.
offended because I look like I should be them and
Right.
I'm not.
You're not. You're actually someone who thinks about things, that considers things, rather they're sheep.
And nobody likes me. I'm not like nobody likes me. I get shit from every single direction because nobody can read me. And I try like when I put stuff out there, I try to make it just be like, this is what's happening, this is the thing. So nobody can read me. They all have an idea of who I
Don't
am.
embroider it. You don't embellish it. You just put
Right.
the
I
pictures
put it out there.
out.
People
Absolutely.
get an idea of who I am.
Oh, we get shit from
And then
the
I
right
offend
and left too.
everyone
It's weird.
because they have an idea and then they're like, oh, maybe not.
Well, the Portland Art Museum has been wokeified and politicized.
It's an
But
art
if they
museum.
put on a show of what you and Kevin have done, it would be an announcement to the city of Portland. You know, actually, there's another point of view.
Oh, well, we're not going to do that. No, there's one point of view.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
one.
that's the problem.
And,
There's one.
and don't tell me that the whole thing with Kevin wasn't political motivated, because it totally was. I mean, it's just like,
What's a takedown?
yeah. It's just like,
I think it took a
oh,
lot of people down.
yeah.
A lot of people.
That's when I
And-
first concluded that Vasquez was full of shit, when he proceeded with that prosecution.
Yeah.
Why he didn't just blow it out and say, "Come on,
Yeah.
give the kid a break.
Yeah.
This is ancient history, and we're dealing with something that factually is extremely questionable."
Right.
But no, he couldn't quite bring himself to do it.
All,
That's
all
the
of these
problem with-
politicians that are like sort of like, oh, the attorney, like Gonzalez ended up being a big pussy. Sorry, he did. He just wouldn't push back on all these people. He wouldn't.
There's an inherent imbalance.
Gonzalez was just always trying to be like, well, I'm a Democrat, so you can't be mean to me. And it's just like, dude, that's not what it's about.
That was on the signs. Renee Gonzalez, Democrat. I'm here to remind you.
It's just
that
like,
I'm
it
a
doesn't
Democrat.
matter,
So
Renee.
you can't do this. I'm a Democrat.
Oh,
you're not.
my
Nope. You're not
God.
going to do this to me. I'm a Democrat.
If somebody
Well, they
had stood outside of
They
City
did.
Hall 3 years ago on the eve of the election for the goddamn city charter
Here it comes. I'm
and
finally
said,
not the
"You're
swearer.
going to be run by the Democratic Socialist Party of America.
Thank you.
Vote for us."
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Bourbon and Bullshit. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as we enjoy producing it. And I do apologize about the sudden ending of this episode. I have to work on my editing skills going forward. As you can tell, it's a little rough right now, but I'm getting there. And really, anyway, it eventually devolved into so much drunken foolishness that it's probably best cut off where it was anyway. And as always, drink responsibly and don't drink and drive. We always make sure all our guests get home safely, whether through Uber or Lyft or a loved one. We want everyone to be safe out there and enjoy our bourbon that we drink on here and not have something horrible happen to them. So anyway, we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. We're excited about some of the episodes coming up. We will announce them as they move forward. And anyway, enjoy. Thank you.